Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So this is going to be a video that's a little bit different from what I usually do because I wanted to put up a review of The Batman. So this is the new film by Matt Reeves that everyone's probably heard about, and there'll be loads of reviews online, but I wanted to put my 2 cents in because I don't feel a need to criticise for the sake of it, which I think some people do, and I don't see that a definition of a good review is both sides. I thought it was an amazing film, so I'm going to talk about why I think that's the case, and talk about Batman in general, and Matt Reeves as well, talk about him. So I wanted to put that up there and, see if you guys agree or whatever, but regardless of that, I just thought it would be a nice thing to add to my channel because I've just come out of the cinema, literally just got in, and I wanted to do it while I still had my fresh thoughts because it was so good. And it's such a massive achievement because, let's face it, it's easy to do that kind of film really badly, or at least not really badly, but it's very easy to do it in a very ordinary way, in a way that's been done before, in a way that feels fresh, but then they tried too hard and did the wrong things, that kind of thing. Anything like that hasn't really happened in this case, and he's done a fantastic job, I think. Everyone that's involved has done a fantastic job. So I'll talk about that. But to start off with, I'll talk about Batman, why I think Batman's such an interesting character, was a great franchise and such an interesting world. Got the Gotham world, so interesting. So you get people online and just in conversation sometimes having arguments about the Marvel versus DC thing. And, I always look forward to not all DC films, but all Batman-related films because I think it's such an interesting character. There's a lot of darkness in there. There's a lot of layers in there. There's a lot of kind of things that Batman's dealing with and Bruce Wayne's dealing with, and the landscape that he lives in is so full of people that are damaged, that are either committing crime or trying to deal with the people committing crime, or there's a corrupt police force. There's all sorts of things that are in the mix, and obviously the whole sort of mafia scene in Gotham. All of that stuff brings out interesting stories, interesting crime stories. They're basically crime stories. So sometimes with the superhero stuff and comic book stuff, it's all about kind of sort of godlike people doing godlike things and trying to rule the world and stuff like that. And sometimes with like spy stuff, it's someone just trying to blow up the world. Whereas with Batman, specifically Batman, because not all DC characters like this, but certainly with Batman, a lot of it's about the sort of messed up Gotham and how he in particular is trying to do good things and try to do the right thing in that situation, and the sort of the few characters that are around him that are also trying to do the right thing, while there's all these crazies around him trying to mess up because they're damaged. They're trying to mess up Gotham either as some sort of revenge or some sort of didactic tool, which is obviously crazy, or to some sort of ethnic cleansing type idea. So that's what they're dealing with the Batman Gotham situation. So I think it's a fantastic world to kind of build stories out of, but obviously we've had quite a lot of them now. And as far as the comics go, I'm not an expert on comics at all. I have read Dark Knight Returns, Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns, and I've read a few bits. I am definitely curious to read The Long Halloween, which apparently was one of the influences on this new film. And there was a couple of others as well that have been an influence. But certainly my interaction with Batman is mostly about either the games or, more importantly, the films. And obviously when I was a kid, there was a TV series with Adam West, but that's slightly different to the films. I mean, Tim Burton did create something quite important and special when he made the first Batman, because up to that point, those kind of films weren't dark like that. So that was a big statement he made, and obviously that was spoken about at the time. And that's the reason why it's so important, so influential. And I do love those first two Tim Burton films, especially Batman Returns. So yeah, that was where I come from as far as the Batman thing. My relationship is definitely to do with the films. So there could be some people that have got comments about the films that are based on what they know about the comics, and whether or not they've changed things from the comics, or whether or not they've taken certain bits that they liked from the comics, or if they've diverted expectations. That's fine. But certainly for me, this is about the films. So as far as the portrayal of Batman, I think Robert Pattinson was a fantastic choice. This is only the second film I've seen with him in it. The other one was Tenet. So quite recently discovered what he's like as an actor. I think it's awesome. I am going to see The Lighthouse, which I've got divided opinions about. Some people hate it, some people love it. But I'm going to watch that, and it looks like a bit of an acting tour de force. So I'm sure I'll see lots of good acting. Whether or not the film's any good, I don't know. But I'm well impressed with what he's done in Tenet and in this. And I did get a vibe that he probably was the right kind of person to do in this film. So I was looking forward to seeing him doing Bruce Wayne and Batman. But what is really interesting, I think, is this is the first time you've had really expressive acting inside the Batman suit. So usually the actors who play Bruce Wayne and Batman do a lot more expressive acting as Bruce Wayne, and the films usually spend quite a long time exploring Bruce Wayne. I don't think it's going to be a massive spoiler to say the film is definitely weighted into the Batman character rather than Bruce Wayne character. So he's obviously in it, but that's definitely, as far as Robert Pattinson's job, it was definitely his job to make an impression as the Batman, and he massively does. And I think there was some absolute choice moments where you could see all sorts of things going around in his head in that Batman suit, which I think is really impressive. So yeah, really, really impressed with Robert Pattinson. He did a fantastic job. Also, just mentioned Matt Reeves, the director, because the directing was phenomenal. Some of the camera shots that he chose, you just thought that was an awesome way of seeing that. The cinematography was great. So some of the lighting and some of the ways the shots were filmed were brilliant as well. But just the choices he made about what we were looking at. There was many times in the film I just thought, that is phenomenal, that's brilliant. And I was impressed with him before anyway. I love the 3 Planet of the Apes films he did. But yeah, that was really impressive, I thought. So the directing, I think, is awesome in this. Paul Dano, he plays the Riddler, and he's the main villain. There are a couple of other villains in it, but he's the main villain. He's the one that the story's wrapped around. And to be honest, I think he's probably the best villain character in the Batman universe. I mean, I think the Penguin's my favourite, but that's just because I love Burgess Meredith. But regardless of that, as far as storytelling and character development and how you can pin a story onto a character, the Riddler is such a great device because of all the riddles and the way that he sets things up around him, and he's not quite as unpredictable, therefore is quite cerebral in his thought as the Joker. So obviously the Joker is the big favourite, but I do think there's such much more nuance in the Riddler. So it's great that the film was set around that, and Paul Dano's portrayal of the Riddler was just phenomenal. It was genuinely creepy at times, and a lot of that was down to his voice. So it was the way he pitched his voice. So I'm not sure if you guys watching would think about the way our voice is pitched, but our speaking voices are musical. So where we pitch the notes of our speaking voice does kind of define us as far as our voice goes. And there are certain times in the film, most of his scenes, to be honest, had elements where he chose a pitch for the notes of his voice that really, really creeped you out and made you think the guy's crazy. And that was really clever, because that's definitely a choice I think that Paul Dano made. And I mean, it could be something that Matt Reeves worked with him and said, "Oh, we're going to try something else," but it was really effective. And yeah, so and ultimately a lot of his performance was about his voice. So yeah, absolutely amazing portrayal of a Batman villain there with the Riddler, and Paul Dano's voice characterization, just phenomenal. So that was a really big thing. Talking about pitch, the music score. So I should have looked up how to pronounce this properly before I did this video, but I want to do it quickly. But I think it's Michael Giacchino. I think it's Giacchino. Could be Giacchino. Giacchino? Sounds Italian. He did the soundtrack. He did the score. And the film score was just beautifully written. It's fantastic. And again, like I've been saying before, it's very easy to make a mistake with this, or you're treading on ground that's already been trodden on. Danny Elfman is an amazing composer. Hans Zimmer is an amazing composer. And those two have really kind of put their stamp on Batman. And people still remember the Danny Elfman tune and still say that, that theme that he created is iconic, which is awesome, because obviously it's not that long ago. But regardless of that, the score, the theme that was created for the Batman, and some of the other themes that are in it as well. There's a leitmotif that I thought was possibly Celine Kyle's leitmotif. There's like a string melody that's really powerful. It's brilliant piece of music. But then it came up with a scene that she wasn't in, so I wasn't sure if that was her leitmotif or just something that was being used in the general score. But there was loads of great music in the film, and there was like a main theme. It was like a dan 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 dan, which is kind of similar to the funeral march, to be fair, but really, really effective. And the way it was used in different ways during the film was fantastic. So yeah, the score was a really big standout moment. To be fair, most films I like, it's usually got a great score as well. The film score is so important. Like I was trying to say in that video I did about film scores, it's so important you have a great set of incidental music to go with the film. You know, it makes a huge difference. So yeah, that was a really big standout thing as well. I thought the score was fantastic. As far as the actors go, I'll talk about the three actors that played the people on Bruce Wayne's Batman side. So Alfred was a fantastic performance from oh my god, Andy Serkis. Andy Serkis. So let's start that again. So Alfred was a fantastic performance by Andy Serkis. It seems like Andy Serkis and Matt Reeves got this long relationship together now, which is cool because Andy Serkis, I think, is underused, actually. I think he's a really good actor. But he did a really good job in this one. I think it's really nice, that kind of portrayal of Alfred, which I thought was going to have the same kind of tone to it that you got from Sean Pertwee in the Gotham series, which I think was the best thing about the Gotham series. So I liked the idea of what was going to come when I saw the trailer. I thought, this is cool that we're going to get that kind of Alfred. But more importantly, just regardless of the style of the characterization, it was just done really well. He just acted it really well. And there's a fantastic scene towards sort of 3/4 of the way through between Alfred and Bruce Wayne. It's a beautiful scene. It's really well written. But it's really sensitively acted, and you really do believe it, which is awesome because ultimately filmmaking is all about the audience believing what you're doing. And there was a really, really lovely moment there in that scene. And in general, everything he did, basically, Andy Serkis did, was really effective in the film. So that was really cool. Jeffrey Wright played Captain Gordon. I think he was Captain in this one. He's not quite Commissioner yet. But he played Jim Gordon anyway, and it was a really nice, understated performance. It wasn't like over the top. I mean, we can't really do Jim Gordon over the top, but then I suppose you could say some moments of the Gotham Jim Gordon was a little bit over the top, I guess. I liked his portrayal, but you could say that. So you could do it over the top, but very understated with Jeffrey Wright's performance, and it worked really well. And there was that sense they were working together in ways that meant they were kind of defying what they should be doing or defying what they were told to do and that kind of thing, which is really cool. So yeah, that was a really nice element as well. So really good acting on that front. And Zoe Kravitz, which I had heard before, there was like rumblings before with the press reviews and things that she was a standout, and she really did do an amazing performance. And Selena Kyle just sort of shone through the screen. It was really well written, but really well acted, and you really believed her. She had this really good sense of who she was in the film and her relationship with Batman. It worked really well. So, yeah, Selena Kyle was fantastically played by Zoe Kravitz as well. So, yeah, I mean, those were the principal actors, and they were done really well. One sort of other thing about the acting, I was really pleased that John Turturro was in it, playing the part he played, because I thought he's another one that's underrated, kind of does a lot of comedy roles and stuff, or over-the-top roles. And again, really understated, really powerful and menacing performance from him, I thought. So yeah, the characters are really well developed. I thought the script was beautifully written, where just the right kind of dialogue for those scenes, not too... there was no bits of dialogue where you thought, that was a bit funny. So the dialogue was brilliantly written, I thought. And the thing about the plot was it developed in a really layered way, so it didn't feel as long as it was. It was a very long film, but it didn't feel very long. And part of that was the way the mystery was developing and his investigations were developing. And it started coming together really well, so that by the time you had the big kind of set piece at the end, it all made sense, and you'd got to that point absolutely gripped. So that was really awesome. So I just think the plot was done so well that it should have been as long as it was, I think. So you might get some reviewers saying it's too long, but I think that's them trying to be negative so they sound more intelligent. Go see the film because it's awesome. Thanks a lot. Next video I'm going to do is an announcement of 100 albums things. I'm going to go back to music for a little bit while I'm doing the other book things. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching. Go see the film. See you later.